Pressing, rolling. All right, we are recording. Welcome to the virtual brown bag of May 6th of 2021. We always record these meetings, so please make sure whenever you're sharing something, you don't overshare or share things that would get you in trouble for whatever the reason would be. The Virtual Brown Bag is a place where we get together, we share tips and tricks, experiences, frustrations, challenges that we are going through, and sometimes we don't find the better solution for it. Sometimes we do find a solution, but it's not the best one, and we feel like it. When we share with others, we may be able to enlist some help into making it better. We do this every Thursday, 12 through 1 Central Time, here on Skype. Feel free to always join the link to friends and coworkers who might be able to also benefit from the discussions that we have here. We have shared things, all over the place, usually somewhat centered around software development. It can go technical, it can go soft skillsy. It's really whatever folks feel like talking about on a given meeting. We have a virtualbrownbag.com website where you can always find a link to this meeting here, as well as link to the videos from the previous meetings with a little blurb of what we talked about on each one of those meetings. And let's roll. What have you guys been up to?
Yeah. Bunch of management stuff, but yeah, I did get to participate in an incidence and like exercise where I was asked to basically be a red team hacker who had access to a compromised laptop and see what I could do. That was kind of fun.
Incidence exercise. Tell me.
So for example, it's an exercise about well, let's say someone got one of our employees or developers' laptop, was malicious. What would they be able to access, basically from my laptop, and then everyone has to figure out how they would respond, right? Yeah. So I mean, I can't talk about a lot of it, but it was pretty interesting. I got to try out a package.lock injection vulnerability. So I can talk about those because those are kind of fun, and that's something that people should be a lot more aware of, I think, than they are.
Yeah, please do talk about it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, before I could go into that, because that could be a whole thing. How's what's going on with you, or Jose? What's going on with you, man? I haven't heard from you in a while. Okay, or maybe not now. Oh, yeah. What's going on with you? Because I can. No, Mike.
Bummer.
Listening only. Maybe we'll get some other people joining. What have you been working on?
Oh man, on my end, I mean, besides on client stuff, I've been, I continue hammering on fine-tuning our end-to-end test setup and all kinds of tests from the unit test standpoint, integration tests from the front end to the back end, trying to essentially coaching my guys into the practices and making sure that we are sticking with it and improving as we go. One real cool thing that I've been hearing about benefits was just going into a more context-based style of organizing the tests, so breaking it down instead of having one test fixture per class or per thing being tested, actually splitting those into smaller, context-based tests. And at first it was kind of hard for the guys to kind of get their minds around the thing, but they stuck with it, which was pretty cool. And now they're harvesting when certain changes come in, it's so easy to just go fix it into one context file, and then all the tests are still working just fine, which has been pretty cool. And what else? Yeah, other than that, just a bunch of writing things that I'm doing on the side as well to just practice things a little bit outside of technical writing. You know, exercising that muscle of the whole storytelling part of things,
Yeah.
which has always been the style that I like. For instance, giving talks, but I never applied it much to actual technical writing. So I'm like, okay, let me practice some of that. Like write a little like short story, kind of like novel type of story, just to practice, character development and location setup and all of that. That's been interesting.
That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, cool.
But
Yeah. I've got. I mean, I need to get to do that. I don't know. I do feel like I'm hitting some like a little weird hump lately where I'm like I'm just like not getting as excited about stuff as I was before, and part of it is just kind of being tired. Like
mm,
I mean, 2-year-old and a 3-year-old is more tiring than when one of them was a baby. I thought it would kind of get easier, and it's not much harder, but like
it's
it's like easier during the day because like they can play by themselves a lot more, but it's also harder like at night when like they won't go to sleep because like the girl is like getting up to go to the bathroom like every 3 minutes because she knows I have to let her go to the bathroom. So like I'm not gonna be like, no, you can't go to the bathroom because else she'll start peeing the bed. So can't do
right.
that. So that's yeah, and then by the time it's like 10 p.m. and I'm like, she finally falls asleep. I'm like, God damn it! I'm not gonna pull out my laptop and hack on Racket. I can't. I don't have that reserve anymore.
Right.
So yeah, some of it's that, but some of it is like I need to figure out something to reinvigorate myself. I've been I've been reading like biographies, which is kind of my go-to all the time. I just finished Claude Shannon's biography.
Who is
It's
that? Sorry.
mine to play. Claude Shannon is is like computer science. He's our guy, basically.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
he was he's the guy who invented information theory. So he was um like by himself all at once. He published a very influential paper in like 1948, I want to say,
Wow.
that was just like, hey, by the way, here's kind of how information works and how like you can encode information as codes and how you can measure information entropy. And it's been like it's the grounding like foundation of most telecommunications, most like how computers are designed. Basically, as far as to translate it into like high level language, he proved and showed how you could take a bunch of faulty components, faulty channels, and still 100% reliably transmit information on them, right?
Hmm.
So we talk about stuff like data on a computer doesn't go bad, or data sent over the line doesn't really go bad. That's part of that is like because we have stuff like retries coded and stuff like that. But even that assumes that when I send a 1 at one end, I actually receive a 1 at the other end, right? And there's not really such a thing as 1. There's a high wave, and the waves do fluctuate, so you might not.
Okay.
So information theory is all about like, well, how it's how exactly do you encode things in such a way that when you decode it on the other end, you can be pretty darn sure that what got sent in was good, what you sent out. So it's a super like when he wrote it, like every field of science was like, holy shit, what, we can use this. Um,
Hmm.
like he was absolutely revered when he was alive. I mean, he did actually a lot of other stuff. But he was like so revered, basically. Like he worked at Bell Labs when he did this, and after that, his role basically became that like everyone was in awe of him, and he would just spend all he would be the guy that like would just be unicycling and juggling in the hallway all the time, and all his managers were like, yeah, I mean that's what Shannon does, it's fine. um
Hmm.
and then like years later, he got offered a slot at MIT despite never being a teacher. Like he was like tenured slot, just come here and be at MIT and you can do whatever you want.
Okay.
And and even that, with that, Bell Labs was like, okay, fine, you can go over there, but we're still gonna pay you money. Like he's like he was like that high figure, and then like what he basically did with that freedom is he spent a bunch of time pursuing all sorts of other pursuits like juggling, unicycling, writing, building like all the first robots. Like he had a super famous demo, I think in the 50s, where he built a little robotic mouse that could solve a maze by himself.
Huh.
And it got very famous. So yeah, like as far as computer science is concerned, Claude Shannon is our guy. I mean, him and like von Neumann, Turing, but like you're talking about same level of infamy.
Okay. Interesting. So when you read autobiographies, do you always tend to go like the technical route, or do you read other kinds of autobiography, other kinds of people?
Um, yeah, so historical or science based usually. Um, for I don't actually like to read, with the exception of this, because this is like the only book I could find that talked a lot about Claude Shannon, sort of. But like mostly, I don't read biographies of individual scientists as much as I prefer like biographies of movements or like histories of movements. And
Okay.
like when I read biographies, I'll stick to like historical figures. But in this case, it's like
Gotcha.
that. But yeah, like so, like as far as technical stuff, like the history of Bell Labs, the history of Xerox, of Princeton's math department, of that sort of stuff is all love it. It's fascinating to me.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, but yeah. So I'm in kind of reading that, like trying to get a little more reinvigorating, being like, all right, I need to find like a puzzle for my brain to like just be focused on and latched onto, and then I could use that as a springboard to like actually like invest more of my time to like playing with racket instead of just like doing tutorials and stuff like that.
Mm,
Um, that's how I tend to learn, and
okay.
that kind of what like drives me to like be like, all right, I'm still gonna stay up to like 11 till 12, midnight, 1 a.m. because I have to. I want to do that. I can't put the problem down. I just got to get to that place again.
Right. Interesting. Yeah, last year I got into this mode of reading a bunch of autobiographies, but it's always like, I guess I notice it's mostly about people that I find they've had interesting lives, and there are, uh, they talk about not just their successes, but how they actually got there. Because usually people just focus on what worked. They don't talk much about what didn't work, right? So I've read like Richard Branson's biography, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Bruce Dickinson, the Iron Maiden singer. So it's like it's very diverse, but it's interesting, and I like doing that because it's like, okay, Bruce Dickinson, heavy metal singer, Arnold Schwarzenegger, governor, bodybuilder and actor, and then all these
Impressive
different.
dude, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. It's like, okay, there was a lot of stuff in his history that I didn't even know what kind of involvement he had in certain areas and what kind of failures and everything and how he overcome the thing, the kind of drive that he has. I found it very interesting. But it's also interesting how like there is certain overlap from these folks, like Richard Branson and Arnold Schwarzenegger, how they mention certain people, like Nelson Mandela, for example. And it's like, okay, that's another autobiography that I should be reading. But just to see a little bit like such diversity in people, but how they still overlap on certain things that are like core to people.
I the I think that's good. I think one of the reasons that I prefer kind of movements and histories rather than biographies
Mm-hmm.
is because within what's available to us, and when you speaking Portuguese, maybe it's not as much. Is like it tends to be very, very Western centric, like Western world centric biographies. And that does, that kind of bothers me from the point of view of like, if I'm drawing, I'm reading this to draw inspiration and stuff like that. Like, I don't really want like 70% of that or 80 to be Western world flavored. I want to go outside of it, but there isn't like a ton of stuff available in the English language that I can read that hits that same thing. That's like about some Chinese or Southeast Asian dude. Like yeah, and maybe I need to dig further, and that certainly could be the case. It's just
makes sense. Well, if you run into anything interesting, let me know.
Yeah,
I've been like building a to read list,
Yeah,
books that eventually I'm gonna get to.
I mean, the Claude Shannon one thing is very inspiring because, like, if anything, because like, other than him getting Alzheimer's at the end of his life, like, pretty much his life is like, like, oh man, this is like how I would love my life to go. Like, I mean, he was definitely a genius, like way, like one of the most highest echelon of geniuses ever. But also like the type of stuff that he did and like the way that he got to do it, and he got very, very lucky in life in many, many ways. I think that he had a quote which was like, they asked him like, "Have you been lucky?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, beyond any reasonable like expectation. It's stupid how lucky I've been." But like it's very kind of inspiring and awesome to like read that and be like, man, this guy has the life. It's awesome.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
hey,
interesting.
Charles, we had someone join. I want to just acknowledge. Hey, Charles, feel free to open up on your mic and tell us what you've been working on, what you've been playing with.
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear.
Actually, I'm eating lunch, so I'm just listening and see what's going on.
Yeah.
All
right.
What am I working on? Actually, we have this. I work for the clerk's office. And we have this software which runs court systems, and the guy that was running it is. I'm being his backup, learning how the system works. It's basically a package software, but they have some APIs and SSR reports that comes off of it. So that's not a whole lot, but kind of learning the system itself, because yes, his phone rings off the hook, so I'm trying to figure out, help him out a little bit.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. So you're building some automations for him or something?
Excuse me?
You're building some automations for him or something, or?
Yeah, a little bit, but most of it's just reports the courts can use, specialized reports. It's not just the probate court, civil courts, and also the MI, mental ward types, the specialized reports that the clerks use. And it's a Microsoft shop. Do what I work with usually is C#. Just web stuff, but this is kind of a different direction.
Yeah,
mostly to help them out.
Okay. Yeah, it's always nice to be able to like here's like a really small simple thing that I have actually the skills to do, and it'll help you a lot. That's always fun. Absolutely.
I'm sorry if I'm talking with my mouth. I'm trying to not talk my mouth full.
We don't. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, y'all continue. I'm listening in.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, I mean I can show the package.lock thing I was talking about.
Hold on, if you don't mind.
If anyone's interested in seeing that.
Yeah, hold on. I am just recognize Jose mentioned I need to find a partner to learn or play tennis. So I can share a little bit about that. So last week, that's something else that I've been working on the last couple of weeks. Last week, I gave a class for my coworkers on hobbies, because folks keep seeing me like doing and performing all the kinds of different hobbies, and they're like, oh man, how come do you get to work all day and do all those things and still have these cool hobbies that you follow. I said, well, yeah, I do have something to share about it. Because, for example, one of my hobbies, motorcycle riding at the track, right at a racetrack, that's like one of my biggest hobbies right now. And one of the things that I notice, reasons people don't pick up hobbies, it's because it's like, well, I should really be working, or I should really be doing something to, make more money or whatever. And there's like that sense of guilty if you're doing something just for your own, enjoyment. And the spin that I put on it, one is, well, having hobbies is important for everybody who performs any kind of creative work. And creative, it could be like developers have to be creative, business development people have to be creative, right? People in sales have to be creative, recruiters have to be creative to, draw people in. So creativity is involved in anything, and hobbies do help with that because it allows you to just expand your horizons in many different directions. So, like, for example, for me, through going to the racetracks and, riding my motorcycle and being very mindful as to how I'm riding and the people around me, and extending my connections and practicing networking with the people around me, and then developing like systems to make my riding better through like the way I do logistics for when I go out to the track and ride, and the costs that I have associated with it, and my budgeting for my, track riding season and all of that. I mean, when I'm doing all those things, that's very similar to how I make a living, right? Figuring out how to optimize things, figuring out how to provide better systems so that people can do their thing better, networking, those things, that's what I do for a living. And then I end up doing that through my hobby, and at the same time I'm having fun with it. So I never feel like, oh, I should be working. No, because I'm always like, I'm just living life, as opposed to having the whole work-life balance, which I've learned to hate that expression, right? There's no work life, there's life and how you live it. And like on the point of finding a partner to play tennis. So playing tennis is something that I enjoyed doing like 10 years ago, and then I went on a hiatus. A couple of months ago, I said, well, it would be pretty cool to just, hit some balls here and there, maybe weekly. Like, well, I don't know anybody who's playing right now. I just went on nextdoor.com, dropped in the neighborhood, say, hey, I'm not that great at tennis. I would like to start playing again. Well, I get at least like three responses. One of them happens to be another Brazilian who lives like 2 blocks down, who hadn't met before, who actually grew up playing tennis, but then hasn't been playing for a number of years. But he like knows the shape and form to play tennis, so he's actually coaching me as we are playing, right? So it's just like, reach out to people if there's anything that you feel like doing that's like, oh, it would be cool to do that. Uh, just do it. Don't overthink it, right? You do need to live your life, even if it feels like, oh, I should be working. Well, yeah, part of your life, yeah, you need to be doing the work. But so then I was gonna ask you, George, when you say you've been having trouble like finding something exciting to do, is it like in the sense like work related thing, technology related, or is it just like in life in general that you're not feeling like, ah, man,
I mean, yeah, some of it, life in general, but that's like, COVID, pandemic, and having 2 young kids.
Sure.
No, it's one of the things that's kind of driven me a lot of the times is like having just an interesting problem that I'm interested in, and there might be good solutions for it, but like it's just something that I like to think about, and then playing around with expressing in code and then pushing it as far as it'll go and seeing how far where the abstractions fail and stuff like that. And I just haven't had one of those in a while, basically. Or at least nothing that I've felt like, like I want to just spend time playing with, which, you know, and that's something like, and so I was like, just like, normally I'm like, whenever I'm like walking around or something, I got headphones in or something. Like yesterday, I specifically like went to the store, like didn't put my headphones in. It was just like, okay, let my brain wander, see if I can find something that's kind of interesting that I want, or like a direction to go where I will discover something interesting that I'll catch on that. And like, and I actually think that's been part of it, is like, I've been so into podcasts, so into audiobooks, that I haven't been, between that, kids, and work, and then just at night, like, all right, YouTube or something. Like, I haven't been letting my brain wander. I haven't had those moments. So I need to find some of those, and then from that find the thing that I'm gonna obsess about for a while, and then go from there.
Makes sense. Yeah, I know I've run through a lot of that where I'm just not letting the brain, have some space to wander. One thing I picked up from that book that I mentioned I've read late last year. Oh, I put it back in the shelf. The Artist's Way. One of the practices there that they recommend to like develop, creativity, and they talk through hobbies as well. But is to do what they call the morning pages, where in the morning, like one of the first things that you do is to, put pen on paper and write 3 pages, whatever comes to mind. That I felt to be like a perfect way to just let the mind wander. It's like you just put pen on paper and just start writing. Oh, about what? About whatever comes to mind. Just put it down. It does not matter as long as you keep putting words down. And then I noticed that it gave me just a chance for the mind to wander. And then at the end of those 3 pages, it's like, okay, where did my mind go? And then I go back, it's like, oh, okay, why did those things came to mind? Is it something that I want to pursue, or is it just like random thoughts that came in? Whatever the case might be. So.
Yeah, I started note taking a couple years ago, and that's been big. So like, I know I need to start journaling at some point, but I'm dragging my feet on that because that can take so much time.
Well,
I can tuck it into other routines, but yeah.
You can either like time box it or room box it. Like in the case of the morning pages, they say it's 3 pages, right? As soon as you hit that third page, that's it. Just move on to do the other things you have to do.
Yeah, because like I know you do stuff like review your notes at the end of a week and stuff like that. Like I don't do that at all.
Yeah.
just like okay, it's there. It's all interlinked. I have it if I need it.
Right.
I don't get that second kick of like, oh yeah, by the way, this is something you were thinking about, and then that's how all my projects end up dead.
Okay.
Hey, Claudio, you used to play the guitar too, didn't you?
I still do. It's all back here. That's another one of my hobbies. Yes.
Yeah. I try to pick that up because my sons have guitars. I picked one up and I took like a 6-month free online thing during the pandemic. One of the guitar guys' websites was free, and I picked it up. I need to re-pick it back up because I enjoyed that.
You can bring it for later though.
And I love the martial arts, but right now I just had shoulder surgery, so that's out for a while.
It's hard in general now, right? I mean, I guess it depends on which martial art, but I think even BJJ guys are like all doing katas now.
Oh no, I do more Aikido now. I used to do the karate, but I got too old for that. But Aikido is more of a gentle art, but it's fun.
I actually found a great martial arts YouTube channel earlier this week. It's Sensei Seth, and this guy, I mean, like he clearly knows what he's doing, and he knows like a lot of the martial arts, but he definitely treats it with like a sense of humor. Like he does like little sketches of like all the martial arts talking to each other, and I think he had one where he's just like showed up at a Muay Thai class in like full like padding gear. I was like, I'm gonna let everyone fight me and just kick me as much as they want.
Okay.
Like that.
I've continued.
This is hilarious.
I used to do the dirt bike thing. That was fun, but that's one of those things that you get hurt. I mean, the injury and that's so high. I stopped doing that. Plus the cost. But
yeah.
I've actually can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've continued training in martial arts. Once things start to open back up, what we did is we went to dealing with initially doing just drills in the air, working on punching, kicking, footwork. Then we transitioned over to long weapons, like dragon pole, and then later stick fighting. Then we, came in closer, people masked on with drills with knives, and then hand-to-hand drills. So we're pretty much back into doing everything that we did beforehand. So we're, back to hand. I do Wing Chun, so it's like very close quarters in terms of combat. Came from Taekwondo where we did a lot of kicking, but with Wing Chun, you're close, close, hand-to-hand drills, sweeping drills, stuff like that. So yeah, we've been fully back. Some people have been vaccinated, some haven't. We've only had maybe 2 or 3 people that had it over the life of the pandemic, but they were all in environments where it wasn't like tied back to the school. So we haven't had any outbreak there, regardless of people having masks, that sort of thing.
Yeah. I need to get in touch with my judo instructor, see if they're planning on opening up again, because my son's about to be 4, so he's at that age where he can start training too. I need to make.
When I did it was more of a sport. We didn't. Tournaments and stuff like that. It was more a social thing. You go to a tournament, and after the tournament, you had a big after party.
Yeah.
But it was more like playing on any other sports, basketball, football. It was more of a competitive thing. Mm-hmm. But we wasn't really into the. A lot of people get into the kung fu, not kung fu, but more of the spiritual aspect of it. And ours was strictly sport. Try this and play like playing basketball. Work on your jump shot or work on your side kick, that type of thing. But it was more of a fun thing. It wasn't really spiritual or, they threw all that stuff out the window. Everybody comes in, hey, I want to learn how to do, the kung fu kick. So sorry, we don't do that. You can call it a day.
That's right. That's good stuff.
But it's good, like, to have a hobby, like you said. And I thought actually coding. I meet a lot of people, and I said, "What do you, IT people?" And this is, I code when I get home from work. And I'm like, so basically, IT is your hobby. Oh yeah, I take my computers and network them, and just what I did last night, and it's computer related. And I'm thinking, is that really a hobby? If that's what you do for work?
I mean, I think it can be. It's a different thing. Like, I classify that more as tinkering, though, right? Like what I'm doing, I still, even though I'm kind of in a funk right now, I still touch way more code on my free time than I do at work, partially because I'm managing people at work. And, when I do touch code, it's a lot of times, code reviews and stuff like that. But even that, I'm doing very different stuff. I don't want to sit down in my time off and understand GCP stuff. I want to get into my S expressions and rearranging languages and stuff like that. But that's not too dissimilar as far as what it does in my brain is when I go and rebuild the cargo bike that I have, and I'm trying to figure out how to that's something I just did recently. I'm actually proud of. I had rebuilt this big cargo bike, the kind they use at warehouses, and I put a bench in there so my kids can sit there, and figured out how to put a 5-point harnesses on there so they can be buckled in while we're biking around. But yeah, that's kind of more building and tinkering, which is different from work. It's just lots of people have building stuff. It's just your chosen medium. But building stuff as a hobby is a hobby.
Yeah, because a lot of the stuff I'm trying to learn, and I go home, I go to a SIG or I break open a book on new technology, and the point, I guess, is to help me on my job. So is a hobby, or is it really learning?
Yeah.
Like right now, when I'm doing here, I'm trying to pick up more stuff.
I'm sorry we're not helping.
No, you aren't. Great. No, anytime Claude gives a SIG or something, I go. Usually I sit in the back or something, but even those what those things they have every year, the they have it at U of H one time, and they had it at
Tech Fest.
Yeah, the Tech Fest. Whatever you teaching, I sign up for it. I don't care what it is. Even if I took it last year, I still signed up for it. But,
Thank you.
It's like I said, why I don't know if it's a hobby or self-improvement as far as work concerned. I'm not sure.
Yeah. I mean, I do believe a lot of that circles back around, but I think the issue is like not feeling like you have to do it because of pressure that has to do with work or growth or career growth and stuff like that. But then realistically, a lot of it ends up circling back around. Like you end up like if it involves focus, if it involves building, if it involves creating, if it involves discipline, like whatever aspects of those, and there's pretty much any hobby is going to be some sections of those. Like you're still exercising the core fundamental muscle that will then apply elsewhere, right? Um, I think it still works. Um, it's more about not having the pressure to do it, which allows your brain to kind of do it in a different state, I guess. Um, yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, I do. The other thing, like with music, yeah, when the pandemic started last year, and it's like, okay, we're in lockdown. What am I gonna do? I said, well, one of the things I'm gonna do is, when I follow my pomodoros, I'm doing my work, and then I have that 5 minutes, pause in between pomodoros. Well, I pick up my acoustic guitar and I play for like 5 minutes, just to like not engage, not like, oh yeah, I'm on my 5 minute break, let me go check emails. No, because then I'm going to be engaging my brain with whatever messages are coming in. If I pick up my guitar, I'm just like, totally like relaxing, just doing that one thing, and then I get back to work. So I did that. I started collecting some backlog of music ideas that I had. And then anytime, like, oh, okay, this weekend I have 2 hours to work on music. All right, I'm going to assemble a song from these pieces. And then when I have another 2, 3 hours, I'm going to record some things. And then after like a month or two, I have like 2 or 3 songs recorded. And then I put them out as I managed to get my videos and all the things. And people ask me, oh man, where do you find time to do all these things and write all these songs? And then I mentioned some examples of like, okay, this one song that I just put out, I actually write out a blog post about how the song came to be. And some of those ideas started 10 years ago. Like I have the original recording of my one guitar when I came up with one piece. And then like over the course of 10 years, it actually came to fruition, right? It's like people say, oh yeah, I don't have time to like work on music. Well, as I've read somewhere, time will pass anyways. So just start. Just, keep going, keep putting effort into it. Eventually it will come out and you will think, "Oh, wow, you just put out a song. How long does it took you to make it?" Like for me in that one case, 10 years. Right? It's like, "Oh man, you play guitar so well. How much time do you spend practicing every day?" And I'm like, the things that I play on the guitar today, the techniques, I've learned as a teenager. I've never, and then I started working full time when I was 14. I never really had time to develop my guitar playing. So whatever I play now, it's what I've learned 30 years ago. Oh, it's like, yeah, you just do it. Don't overthink it. Don't wait for the perfect time to start learning or doing something. Just start doing it, and eventually it will come together. So good deal. All right, package lock.
Yeah. All right. So I say package lock. This is not actually, which implies it's a npm JavaScript um, vulnerability. It's not really. This is a vulnerability of every single platform which has dependency pinning, and which is pretty much every platform except for the ones that don't have a much bigger swath of much worse vulnerabilities. So let's. I think. Um, does everyone here know what a package log file is, or should I probably? I probably should go over what it is, or what a dependency pinning and what a lock file is.
Hmm.
So we know that when we do dependencies. In fact, let me actually just go ahead and share my screen while I talk.
On my big screen.
We know, like when we write code, we list our dependencies out and we say, oh, okay, this will work with this particular version of this package. This will work with this particular version of this package. And so basically, I believe the caret is saying any version 6.8 dot anything, right? I think the tilde says any 0-point version, right? And you could put in ranges, you could do all sorts of stuff, and every single platform kind of has something along those lines. So I'll make it larger. So that's all cool, right? And I list it out, and I say that. Now let's say I'm doing an actual real production application. This is just some library I wrote some time ago. In that case, like, we have our set of dependencies. We need to test it with them. I'm not sure that stuff isn't going to break when it moves to version 3.6. So I want to lock and say, no, I want this exact version. Okay, and I could do that in my package list file, right? I say, no, I need that exact version. But then, in this case, Chai or Mocha or whatever, they also have dependencies, right, under the hood. They have dependencies on other things, and they also have ranges defined. So even if I say I need Mocha version 7.1.1 exactly, if I've tested on my computer, it works. I move to another computer, I install version Mocha 7.1.1.1. Well, Mocha has a dependency on library foo, and it says any version within the 2.star range will do. So on my computer, I happen to test it with that fourth-party dependency version 2.5. Another computer, it downloads version 2.6 because it fits that range spec. So what I really need to do is not specify, well, these are, there's two different concerns, right? These are the things that I think my package would work with, but that's different from these are the things that I've tested it with and I know it works with. The things I tested and I know it works with need to list not only the direct dependencies of me, but all the dependencies of anything in the project, right? So that's what a package lock file is a package lock file, poetry.lock. Like basically every platform except for old school Python tends to have a lock file concept where it's like, here is all of the dependencies of everything that installed, and what we're using this for is to say these are the things. Like if you want a reproducible install that tested, these are the actual versions you grab. Okay. So you don't write package lock files by hand typically. Usually they're generated for you as part of the install. Again, same as for all the other lock files. The reason why is they tend to be giant and contain a ton of stuff that is not very relevant for you. So in my case, this library, like, I don't even have that many packages in here. But if I open up my package lock file, this is the everything, right? It's 4,000 lines, right? Because it's all the dependencies. And for a sizable project, it could be a lot more. Like the one at work, it's over 105,000 lines, right? It's big.
Wow.
And if we look inside of here, so let's go ahead and find Mocha, let's say 7.1.1. That's Acorn. Mocha. Where's our Mocha? Here we go. So here we've got Mocha. Here you go. So version 7.1.1. Look what it lists in here. Okay. It lists a URL from NPM, and it lists this integrity. So thinking as an attacker, if I get access to someone's computer, someone's code base, what if I change this URL in the lock file? Remember, the lock file is committed, right? It's persistent. In fact, let me go ahead and grab this file. And then let's go to my temp directory. right? And I'm going to curl that, and I'm going to say, I think it's going to tell me I need to do something. Oh, dash dash output. But there we go. So there we go. It downloaded that. What is that? That's a TGZ. That's like a tar file. It's a fancy zip file. In fact, I can do. I'd have to go and like Google it. Untar file, TGZ file. Tar XVZF. So tar XVZF, Mocha. I do that. So I go, what's in here? Looks like, oh, okay, there's package. Stuff like this, right? Okay. So there's a bunch of stuff in here. And okay, well, it looks like that. You can look at it. You can look at what's inside of there. Okay, module.exports. You look at exporting Mocha. Well, what if I was then to also say, let me actually, I'll do it in a different file. I'll do it in this file. So I look in here. It seems to be doing exports and stuff like that. Looks like interesting stuff. Oh, look, it's exporting an inherits function, so exporting all sorts of things. What if I come in here and start messing around with it, right? Maybe I sit down, I go and I say, well, that inherits function seems important. What if I replace that with some sort of dangerous function? Yeah. Data. Steal all the data, right? Like that.
Right.
So I create that. I then create tar file. Tar CVF. So then I could do tar-cvf. Let me see. Output.tar, so mocha.evil.tar.tgz, and then I could say that packages directory. Okay. So I have that mocha.evil.tgz. I could then take that mocha.evil.tgz, cp mocha.evil.tgz code. I'll just put it on my own site, right? On my public site. Let me jump to that. I just want to make sure I'm not running late or something. Oh, we got 10 minutes. We'll probably be fine.
Mm-hmm.
So go in here. There it is. I'm going to commit it. I don't think we'll get to. We'll go as far as to show the attack. I don't think we're going to do the whole thing. Okay. Come on, commit. What's going on? Oh, I need to pull anyway. Come on, pull. So do that. Not allowed. What is it complaining about? Oh, I don't have a name configured or something. Okay, whatever. Okay, the point is I can then upload it to a place on my website that gives me a URL. In fact, I already did that with another file right here, right? So I'll go georgemaurer.net, low-evil.tgz. So there, I already created one of these. I put it on there. In this case, it was low-dash, right? And again, I want to emphasize, none of this is specific to NPM. That's just what we're talking about right now. So what that would mean is then I could, in my package.lock file, Mocha, change this URL to go pull from my website, right? So georgemauer.net/mocha.evil.tgz. Now, that's not all of it, because you have this integrity check, right?
Right.
So this is a way of checking that someone doesn't hack a registry.npm.js and change whatever Mocha delivers to something evil, right? Because that file is unhashed, and this is in your code is stored. This is the hash that I expect it to give me, right? That's cool. That's good, right? Unfortunately, right now, as a hacker, I have access to the hash too. So what I could do is look up, okay, what is that integrity field? It's a standard sub-resource integrity. Okay, if I look up SRI, you could do it yourself with this command, right? You can calculate it, right?
Okay.
Yeah. So I just go in here, say, okay, so OpenSSL, we're going to replace this with mocha.evil. This needs to be SHA-512. There we go. There's my SHA. So I just go in here and like that. Yeah. So now my SHA will match that. Okay. Now I go ahead, I can commit this file with this package lock. I can do a PR to that site. And you're like, well, I mean, people are going to catch that, right? Because there's going to be a diff, and they'll see this is diff with an evil branch, right? Master evil branch. Oh, God, I'm not going to be able to commit to do this right now because I know what I can do to demonstrate it. I haven't configured this on this computer yet. Here's what I can do to show it. So let's say I go ahead. Where's my package lock? I'm going to just edit it directly through the web interface. Just again, because my GitHub is not configured. So where's Mocha? This is line 3120. Right? Going in here, I do that. I go ahead and create a new branch. Totally not evil. I create a PR. So if we go in and look at our PR, well, first of all, already like it's already not it's already complaining about it. So long it doesn't load the package lock file. In this case, because it's just the small diff. Usually, it doesn't do the log file, and we're used to it because there's just a ton of differences. Because all this JSON is getting resorted anytime you do an npm install. And in fact, we can mimic that in our attack pretty easily. So if we go to let's see, how do I view the file? This here. Nope. Maybe I'll just go in here. So I go package.lock.json. What's a good way of doing this? I'll just do it this way. So copy this entire file. And then we'll just say every time it starts with 2 spaces, we're going to replace it with 1 space. It's %s space. So still totally valid JSON file.
Right.
Just says some different spacing. So I put that in here, paste that in. Commit changes, totally innocuous, nothing evil in there at all. If we're to go to our pull request now, like you should, assumingly I did this correctly. Let's see. Let me load the diff. Like, it's not going to give us anything useful. No one's going to be able to review it, right? It'll just give us 4,000 changed lines. Actually, you see here, 9,000 changes. So 4,000 lines where one was removed, 1,000 was added. No one's going to review that. My change is going to make it in.
Yep.
And this happens everywhere where packages are pinned, all over the place. It's nasty because I can inject whatever code that I want and probably escape review. So, something to be aware of.
Yeah.
What are some solutions? Well, you could put auto scanning in place, which is smarter about comparing JSON files, things like that, right? Don't just compare things. I've been saying this for a long time. Actually, I feel like a broken record. Like, our diffing algorithms are stupid simple. Just diffing text line by line is nowhere near enough for most our use cases. In this case, the diffing algorithm should actually understand JSON file format, be able to understand that white space doesn't mean a change doesn't mean anything, and still be able to highlight the difference. It should understand that, that if something's in an object, the order doesn't matter, and still be able to highlight the differences.
Yeah.
Don't just diff the text, do context-aware diffing. That would help the situation a lot. Not always, but that would help a lot. And just in general, it's always something you kind of have to look out for. And probably the vast majority of software out there is vulnerable to this if someone gets access to it, or if there's a stray PR or something like that.
Right.
There we go. That was it.
That was pretty good, man.
Got in under the wire.
Yeah, I will share that with folks. This is good stuff.
All right.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Cool.
I actually think they did catch it in my case where I did it for our incident response exercise. I'm not sure if someone cheated by giving them a hint, but
Okay.
maybe I haven't gotten a chance to talk to the person that caught it yet because he's out sick today.
Okay.
But I'm happy that they caught it either way.
Right.
Because I made a very small change where basically I took the Lodash library and one of its public methods and added a property to it that said evil equals true. But that way I could load it in the browser and be like, you see that property is there. I could have done way worse stuff.
Right.
So I don't have to deal with undoing that because I got caught. But it's totally a real thing that unless you specifically look out for it, it's gonna bite you, and it'll be in any language. Yeah. All right.
Okay.
That's pretty much it.
Very cool. Thanks for sharing, man.
Thanks, everyone. I gotta go.
Same here. Have a good one. See you
Bye,
next
all.
week. All right. Bye.